Jacob Reid, CEO of a small but growing diner chain, had spent the last decade building his business from the ground up. He envisioned a warm, family-friendly environment where both customers and employees felt valued. But lately something felt off. Complaints were piling up: slow service, rude staff, and a revolving door of employees quitting. His regional managers assured him everything was fine, but whispers from the ground told a different story. Frustrated and determined to see the truth for himself, Jacob decided to go undercover. He chose a diner 2 hours from his corporate office, far enough that no one would recognize him. Ditching his tailored suits for a worn hoodie and thick-rimmed glasses, he transformed into just another customer. The moment he stepped inside, he felt it. The dining area was clean but lacked warmth. The energy was tense, like everyone was just trying to survive their shift. A waitress approached, her name tag reading Megan. "Hi there, welcome," she said, forcing a smile that didn't reach her tired eyes. "Just coffee, thanks," Jacob replied, sliding into a booth near the window. As he watched, Megan juggled orders, refilled drinks, and cleared plates, all with practiced efficiency. But exhaustion was etched into every movement. Then came the voice. "Megan, what's taking so long? You're falling behind, again." A short, stocky man in a stained apron barked from the kitchen. Jacob recognized the tone immediately, a bully with authority. Megan flinched but nodded quickly. "Coming right up." Jacob's jaw tightened. He had built this company on respect. This wasn't it. His coffee had barely cooled when he heard it, muffled sobbing from the kitchen. He froze. "I haven't had a break in 6 hours. I'm doing everything I can." Megan's voice cracked through the thin walls. The manager's reply was sharp, dismissive. "If you can't handle the pressure, maybe you're in the wrong job. We don't have time for excuses." That was it. Jacob pushed his half-eaten burger aside and stood. He strode toward the kitchen, heart pounding, fists clenched. Inside, Megan wiped her eyes with trembling hands as the manager loomed over her, arms crossed, his face twisted in frustration. 2 cooks stood nearby, clearly uncomfortable but too afraid to speak. "Is there a problem here?" Jacob's voice was calm, too calm. The manager turned, startled. Just a little miscommunication." Megan shook her head, voice barely above a whisper. "I'm sorry." Jacob looked at her, then at the manager. He didn't reveal who he was, not yet. "She needs a break," he said firmly. "Let her sit down for a few minutes." The manager scoffed. "We're short-staffed. No time for breaks during rush." Jacob's gaze hardened. "There's always time to treat people with respect." Silence. Thick. Heavy. Then one of the cooks, a wiry young man named Connor, spoke up. "She's been nonstop since she clocked in. She hasn't even had time for a drink of water." The manager shot him a glare. "Stay out of it, Connor. Focus on your station." Jacob exhaled slowly. "And who's making sure your team can actually focus? Because from where I'm standing, the real problem is how this place is being run." The manager's face reddened. "Look, I'm just doing my job. If people can't handle it, that's not on me." Jacob's voice dropped, steady but razor-sharp. "We'll see about that." Megan hesitated, glancing between Jacob and the manager. "Take 5, Jacob said gently. "You've earned it." The manager started to protest, but Jacob silenced him with a look. "She's taking a break. Now." Megan nodded quickly and slipped through the swinging doors. Then Jacob turned back to the manager. "What's your name?" "Rick." The man's posture stiffened. "And who the hell are you to tell me how to run my shift?" Jacob ignored the question. "How long have you been manager here, Rick?" Rick folded his arms. 2 years. And I've kept this place running just fine. I don't need some random customer stepping in." Jacob cut him off. "And you call this fine? Your staff is overworked. Customers are complaining. And you're berating your employees in the middle of their shifts." He let that hang in the air before adding, "That's not fine. That's a disaster." Rick's mouth opened, then shut. His confidence wavered. Jacob stepped closer, his next words slow and deliberate. "You might want to rethink how you treat people. Because if I were your boss..." He paused, watching the manager's face pale slightly. "This wouldn't fly." Silence. Then, the kitchen doors swung open, and Megan reappeared. Her face was different now. Still tired, but there was something else in her eyes. "Oh." Jacob let the morning unfold, carefully observing every interaction. Megan moved with determination despite her exhaustion, while Connor diligently handled kitchen prep. Rick hadn't made his presence known yet, but Jacob knew it was only a matter of time. When Megan passed by with a coffee pot, Jacob took his chance. "Hey Megan," he said casually. "Got a second?" She hesitated, scanning the room. "I can't stay long. We're short-staffed again." "I won't keep you," Jacob assured her. "I just wanted to ask, how long have you been working here?" She blinked at the unexpected question. "About 8 months." "Why?" Jacob leaned in slightly. "You seem like you're carrying a lot on your shoulders. Is it always this busy?" Megan glanced toward the kitchen window, hesitating. "It's not always the customers. Sometimes it's—" She trailed off, biting her lip. "It's Rick, isn't it?" Jacob asked gently. Her head snapped up, eyes wide with panic. "I shouldn't." "You don't have to say anything," Jacob cut in softly. "I just want to understand what it's like for you here." Megan hesitated before finally sighing. "It's not just him. It's everything. We're always short-staffed, and when things get hectic he just makes it worse. I know he's under pressure too, but it feels like we're always the ones paying for it." Jacob nodded, his mind racing. "What about Connor? He seems like he tries to help." Megan's expression softened. "Connor's great. He's only been here a few months, but he actually cares. He covers for people when they're struggling. Honestly, if it weren't for him, I probably would have quit by now." Before Jacob could press further, the kitchen door swung open. Rick strode out, his presence shifting the energy in the room instantly. Megan tensed and quickly excused herself to refill a coffee cup. Rick, oblivious, began barking orders at Connor. Jacob clenched his jaw. This wasn't just stress, this was a pattern. He let the morning play out, watching how Rick interacted with the staff, noting every instance of tension. By the time the lunch rush hit, the diner was back to its frantic pace, and Megan was running between tables again. It wasn't long before trouble started. An older man in a flannel shirt flagged Megan down, frowning. "These eggs are overcooked," he grumbled. Megan apologized instantly. "I'll have the kitchen remake them right away." "Can you just do your job right the first time?" the man muttered. Megan's face flushed, but she remained composed. "I'm really sorry about that. I'll fix it." Rick, having overheard, stormed out of the kitchen. "What's the problem here?" he demanded. "It's fine," the customer replied, waving him off. "She's handling it." Rick turned on Megan anyway. "How many times do I have to tell you to double-check the orders before they go out? This is basic stuff." Jacob had heard enough. He stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor, the sharp sound cutting through the room. "That's enough," he said firmly. Rick whirled around, irritation flashing across his face. "And who the hell do you think you are?" Jacob reached into his pocket, pulled out his wallet and flipped it open, revealing his company ID. His voice was calm, but there was no mistaking the authority in his tone. "I'm Jacob Reid," he said, locking eyes with Rick. "I own this diner, and 13 others just like it." The room fell into stunned silence. Megan froze mid-step, eyes wide. Connor peeked out from the kitchen, his knife still in hand. Even the customers seemed to hold their breath. Rick's face drained of color, then flushed red. I didn't realize." "No, you didn't," Jacob cut him off. "Because if you had, you wouldn't be treating my staff like this, or my customers." Rick stammered, but Jacob didn't give him the chance to recover. "Let's talk in the back," he said sharply, motioning toward the office. Rick hesitated before nodding stiffly and walking toward the kitchen. Jacob followed but paused briefly near Megan. "I won't let this slide," he told her quietly before stepping into the office. Inside, Jacob shut the door and turned to Rick, his voice low but firm. "Do you have any idea how out of line you've been?" Rick opened his mouth, but Jacob held up a hand. "Save it. I've seen enough. You've been with this company for 2 years, and in that time, you've managed to create a toxic work environment. Do you know what that does to morale? To customer service? To the business?" Rick looked down, his bravado crumbling. "I get it," he muttered. Jacob continued, his tone unwavering. "This job isn't easy, but that doesn't give you the right to treat people like this." Rick swallowed hard. I can do better. You're done," Jacob interrupted, his voice final. Jacob took a steady breath, his voice firm. "I'm letting you go, effective immediately." Rick's head snapped up, eyes wide. "Wait, you can't." "I can," Jacob interrupted, his tone unwavering. "And I will. HR will process your severance package, but as of now, you're no longer part of this company." Rick stood frozen for a moment before nodding stiffly and walking out of the office without another word. Jacob exhaled, running a hand through his hair. He never took pleasure in firing people, but this was necessary. Stepping back into the dining area, he felt the weight of every gaze on him. Megan and Connor stood near the kitchen, their expressions a mix of shock and cautious hope. The tension in the room was palpable. Jacob cleared his throat, addressing the staff. I want to thank everyone for their hard work. Things are going to change around here, starting today. He locked eyes with Megan and Connor. You two meet me after your shift. We need to talk. The atmosphere in the diner shifted. Whispers of curiosity and sighs of relief filled the space. Jacob knew this was just the beginning, but for the first time in a long while, he felt like he was steering his company in the right direction. Hours later, after the last customer left and the lights dimmed, Megan and Connor stood near the counter, waiting. The soft hum of kitchen appliances filled the silence. They looked exhausted, but there was a flicker of hope in their eyes. Jacob gestured toward a booth in the back. Let's sit. Sliding into one side, he watched as Megan and Connor hesitated before taking the other. Leaning forward, he rested his forearms on the table. First, I want to say thank you. I know today was rough, but you both handled yourselves with professionalism and care. That's more than I can say for some of the leadership this place has had. Megan glanced at Connor, unsure, while Connor fidgeted with the edge of his apron. Jacob sighed. I didn't realize how bad things had gotten. That's on me. I built this company to be a place where people feel valued, employees and customers alike. Somewhere along the way, I lost sight of that. Megan hesitated before speaking. It's not all bad. I mean, I've worked worse jobs, but it's been hard. I love the customers, though. I just wish. She trailed off, unsure if she should continue. Jacob gave her a gentle nod. Wish what? She took a deep breath. I just wish it felt like someone actually cared about us, not just about the numbers or how fast we turn tables. Jacob let her words settle before turning to Connor. What about you? Connor met his gaze, his voice quiet but steady. Honestly, I wasn't planning to stay long. But I couldn't leave, not with everything Megan and the others go through. Someone had to have their backs. A pang of guilt hit Jacob. These two were the backbone of the diner, holding it together while he sat in an office trusting reports and spreadsheets. That had to change. Well, that ends now, Jacob said firmly. But I'm not just going to tell you things will improve, I'm going to show you. Megan and Connor exchanged skeptical but curious glances. Here's what's going to happen, Jacob continued. First, I'm bringing in a new manager, someone experienced but more importantly, someone who leads with respect. Until then, I'll personally oversee things here. Megan's eyes widened. You mean you're staying? Jacob nodded. For as long as it takes. Connor tilted his head. And Rick? He's not coming back, Jacob said simply. I don't tolerate that kind of behavior, and neither should you. Connor exhaled in relief, while Megan's shoulders sagged as if a weight had lifted. Second, we're fixing the staffing situation. No more being short-handed during peak hours. We'll hire more people and make sure everyone gets proper breaks. You can't take care of customers if you're running on empty. Megan gave a small smile. That would be amazing. Third, Jacob said, his tone softening, I want to reward you both for everything you've done to keep this place afloat. Megan and Connor exchanged surprised looks. Reward us? Megan asked cautiously. Jacob nodded. Connor, you've shown incredible loyalty and leadership, even in the short time you've been here. I'm promoting you to assistant manager. You'll get a raise and more consistent hours. Connor's jaw dropped. Wait, are you serious? I've never managed anything before. Jacob smiled. You already are. You step up when no one else will, that's what leadership looks like. Connor blinked, struggling for words. I don't know what to say. Thank you. Jacob turned to Megan. Megan, 8 months of dedication, even when things were at their worst. I see how much you care about the customers and your coworkers. You deserve more than just a pat on the back. Megan's eyes shimmered as she quickly looked down, embarrassed. I'm just doing my job. No, you're doing more than that, Jacob said gently. Starting next week, I'm giving you a significant raise. And I want to set up a bonus system so hard work like yours gets recognized. Megan covered her mouth with her hands. Oh my God. Really? Jacob nodded. Really? For a moment, neither of them spoke, the weight of his words settling in. Then Megan whispered, Thank you. I mean it. Thank you. Jacob leaned back, his expression softening. You've earned it. As they wrapped up their conversation, Jacob outlined further changes. Updating outdated equipment, implementing a better scheduling system, and holding regular team meetings to hear concerns. By the time they left the booth, Megan and Connor looked lighter, as if shedding a burden they'd carried for too long. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. True to his word, Jacob spent his days at the diner, working alongside the staff, listening to feedback, and personally interviewing candidates for the manager position. Eventually, he hired Denise, a woman with years of experience and an empathetic leadership style that quickly won over the team. Megan and Connor received their well-earned raises, and 3 new hires joined the team, easing the workload. The diner transformed. Customers noticed the difference. Service was faster, the staff genuinely happy. One afternoon, as Jacob prepared to leave for the corporate office, Megan stopped him at the door. "Hey," she said, smiling. "I just wanted to say, this place feels different now. Better. Like it actually matters." Jacob smiled. "It does matter. And so do you." As he walked to his car, a sense of pride filled him. It wasn't just about profits or expansion anymore, it was about the people who made it all possible. And he wasn't going to forget that again.